Hello and welcome to a Smurd P video, and finally we're looking at Power Rangers Prime issue 1 from Boom Studios. Firstly, let me apologize, my comic book had a few issues and I'm a wee bit behind. It took a while before I eventually caught up in terms of the comics that I was missing. So let me see if I can get this to a place where it's easy for me to do this and it doesn't slow down the video. So, written by Melissa Flores, continuing to write Power Rangers, which is nice. And I think it's nice that she has been perhaps given a bit more freedom in terms of what she is writing. Illustrations by Michael I think, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Colors by Fabi Marcus and Ed Dukeshire on the letters. So, there is just this notion about good and evil in the first page. And then we get quite into it quite quickly. So we see Lauren, who we know as the Red Samurai Ranger in Power Ranger Samurai. However, this is slightly different, which we'll get into. So she goes to Morph, which scares the crap out of the Arterians, and they start blasting full-on weapons to hurt her, which leads us to Orion. Not Orion, this lad, I think he's called Mark, who he's called Mark. He finds her in a dumpster and manages to hide her in there. So we then jump to Angel Grove University, where University is being taught by a Terrian again, and this is where we find Mark in class, and there is a talk about how they have come to Earth. So one of them was a refugee, which was Mark, who was brought here about 10 years ago, and one of them was actually born here. So she says, well, what does that mean? Well, so we saw last year, or maybe the year before, that Arterian's agenda was to colonize Earth secretly, and that was probably a little bit more direct, whereas this was slightly different. So they arrived on Earth to stop an alien invasion, which Earth could not stop, and they were welcomed. They were shared technology, and then quite simply they colonized the Earth, and then they took in refugees from over the world, but ultimately they are in charge of planet Earth now. And she asks them, are you better off because Earth was colonized? One born says absolutely. The refugee says absolutely not. So there clearly is a society standard within this. Arterians first, humans second, refugees perhaps even worse. However, they are here at university. So we start meeting some of the other characters like June and Valentina. And then this is Orion, which is Mark's flatmate. So they all get along, etc. And June's mum is the Admiral, I guess, senior. She's either somebody who leads a team of war, or she is the overall ruler of this land, etc. So and we learn that June was quite a fan of a myth. Now that myth could be Power Rangers, and she says that sort of talk is dangerous. You are not a child anymore. And he is part of her little army. So then we get a little introduction to VR Troopers. I'm not gonna lie, VR Troopers are cool. I like VR Troopers as a kid. Give them their own comic. Don't freaking chuck them in here and try and create some sort of universe with VR Troopers. I know this, I'll can say that in a minute. But don't freaking put VR Troopers in here. I don't like it. They're like considered heroes, or it's a TV show. I'm not entirely sure, but they're on the TV. So Lauren wakes up to meet Ryan and Mark, or Markin was the one who found her, and she says it's dangerous and she needs to go, etc. And he says, perhaps pretty good, etc. So he says, where are you running from? Then we get, at the university, we get a squadron that have arrived here. And this one recognizes him from last night and calls him a refugee, so it's a bit derogative towards him. And June comes in and says, hey, leave him alone. And he does that with an agenda. He says, I know you're hiding a Power Ranger, but we don't know what that agenda is. Now start talking, refugee. Once again, derogative. So Lauren talks about Power Rangers, samurai Power Rangers, that they did exist once upon a time. And in particular, her family, which, similar to the show, were generations after generations, you know, fighting monsters throughout the years, from very early in Japan to when the United States was invaded in 1954. However, the Atarians had their own agenda. Power Rangers were dangerous to them, similar to before, because it was the Power Rangers that stopped them. So they identified that the Power Rangers could stop their own invasion and hunted them down. So and Lauren ran, and she's been on the run ever since. So it's a great start. There is something that bounces off the moon and comes flying towards the earth, and we see June saving Mark's, I'm just gonna say Mark's life. I'll probably forget all their names when I do the next issue. That's what usually happens. It takes me a few ones. And then we get what looks like a Rita Repulsa waking up. A brand new world. After so many years, I'm free. And the weird thing about this looks how Rita ended up in Darkest Hour, you know, looking like this. So I'm not sure how they're connected. I'm not sure if they are. So yeah, so they've added VR troopers. Power Rangers are non-existent in this world, and Lauren is pretty much on her own, the only Ranger going on. So yeah, a good first start. Lots of little mysteries, and it's created something to go on, so to speak. You know, this nice little cover at the back. It's created something for them to go off on, so and grow, and it's her own plaything. She can do whatever she wants. So as long as it's interesting, as long as it's enjoyable, and I find it interesting that it's almost a rebellion being a Power Ranger. It's quite interesting that, you know. So we'll see if this team grows. I mean, you can see the foundations there, the introductions. Are they going to all become Samurai Rangers or whatever they become? I mean, we've seen lots of little suits released, etc. But yeah, great start. Anyway, I hope you like my video. If you do, please do support my channel by subscribing. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you to everybody that subscribed already. Make sure you look after yourself. Very important these days. And embrace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.